What are you doing?
I'm just getting ready, so just I'm almost there.
Oh, come on, honey. I've been planning for this trip for months. I've been packing for 3 days already. You haven't even put anything in the suitcase yet.
Oh, I'm planning. What do you think I'm doing now? I'm reading all these books. I'm planning.
Ruminating over books? That's planning for our trip?
This is how missions trips happen. People ruminate and they know everything that's going on. And I need to study. What if I run into somebody from a different religion that doesn't know anything about Christ? I want to be able to talk to them.
I don't know, hon. Is studying these books, is that going to help you know what you need to pack for the trip? That might be useful.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll tell me what to wear or not, but I was thinking more about the Great Commission where Jesus said, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations." We know that we're supposed to go, and that's not a problem. But what we didn't know, oh, hey, buddy.
Mommy, where should I put Daddy's shirts?
Yeah, in the suitcase.
Thank you. I will take, no, you go do it. You go put it in.
Okay.
And whatever else you find, just put it in there. I really don't care what I wear. But I was thinking about the Great Commission. Jesus says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations." So we know that we're supposed to go, but when he says all nations, we don't know who all we're supposed to reach. It could be a very wide and diverse group of people.
Yeah, because I guess all nations would include people from different countries, and they might have a different religious background, different culture. People would even have different family background, social status, and all of these things would affect the way that they view the world.
And we would call that their worldview.
Right, and anytime we share the gospel with someone who has a worldview that's different than ours, I guess there's always the possibility of maybe offending them if we don't know what they believe, or actually if we're sharing the gospel too, they might misconstrue what we say if they have a different way of looking at the world.
Yeah, and I guess we need to remember too that the message of Christ doesn't change, but the way we communicate that message may change depending on who we're talking to.
Yeah, ultimately it is God who changes people's hearts, but we need to be really proactive in understanding the people that we're sharing with, and in that way we can communicate the gospel as effectively as possible.
I remember when I was younger, I heard about an evangelist who he went to India, and he was telling me that hundreds of thousands of people were coming to Christ in this one city. And then a friend of mine, he went to India to be a missionary, and I told him about this, and I was excited about what this evangelist was telling me, but he said, unfortunately, many people from North America come to that one city because the people in that city believe that they should add as many gods as they can to their life. So hundreds of thousands of people would go up and all these evangelists would come through the same city. But he said they weren't really making a decision for Christ.
Wow, so even if someone had really good intentions of sharing the gospel and helping people know Jesus, if they don't study their target audience, they might be ineffective because of the way that they're sharing?
Yeah, and as you can see, a person's worldview can really impact the way that they view the gospel message, and it can affect the way that they receive it. So it's important that they have a very clear understanding of the gospel to remove any barriers and make it easier for them to understand.
You know, both Peter and Paul understood the importance of kind of studying their audience. Let me read to you here from Acts 17, 22 to 33. Paul is preaching a sermon to the Athenians, and he starts his message talking about them. Men of Athens, I perceive that in every way you're very religious, for I passed along and observed the objects of your worship. I found also an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. What therefore you worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you.
So even though Paul hadn't spent a lot of time in Athens, what he did observe is some cues from their religion. Like one, that they were very religious, but they also loved discussion and rhetoric and things like that.
So he not only shared the gospel with them, but he also reasoned with them because he knew that's what they liked to do.
Yeah, so we should think about approaching other people, other nationalities and other religions the same way as Paul did. with rationality and intellectually as well.
So having a fair understanding of their religion or background can really go a long way in helping us to share the gospel in a way that's clear and makes sense to them. But what do you think we do if we don't have time to study a person's background when we want to share the gospel with them?
Well, here's a novel idea. Ask them. They're probably the best ones to tell you what they believe, how they grew up, what they've always been taught. And that's also just part of building a relationship with people.
So if, for example, like the Athenians, they worship many gods, then...
Talk about the one true God, the one who is all-powerful, and let them know that there's only one God. Or let's say if they were oppressed, what would you say?
So then we can talk about how God could save them from their troubles or help them have the right perspective on their hardships. Or if they're from a background or culture that really values family, then...
Well, you could talk about God as a loving God who wants to adopt us into his family.
So if we really listen to the people that we're engaging with, it'll help us to understand where they're coming from, and we can just be so much more effective in sharing the gospel in a way that'll really make sense to them.
That's right. Well, I think I can put the books away and we can go, but let me just summarize what we talked about, and then I'll come help you pack.
Okay, you
All
better.
Right. When we communicate the gospel, it is essential to know the worldview of the person we are speaking with. A worldview is the way in which a person sees the world, and it is affected by their upbringing, religion, social and economic status, culture, and other things. In the Bible, Paul's gospel message was tailored to his audience's worldviews. We also need to identify the worldview of our listener or audience so that we can preach the gospel more effectively.
Amen, brother.
All right, so we should probably start packing up, and
You guys have been talking for hours. I just did all the packing by myself.
Oh,
it's all done?
Yeah?
But all you packed was probably chocolate and chips. And
yeah, I think we're going to need to do an
Probably
inspection,
double
make
check
sure we
it.
got the right stuff in
But
there.
we still got lots of time. Relax. We got like 20 hours to go.
20 hours? How many hours, Menya? What's the countdown?
We're leaving in 5 hours.
5 hours. I gotta get going.
Oh,
Oh, this is such a mess.